Morning all. Wednesday, 28th of September. Special shave today. I'll explain as I finish lathering up. Our wonderful friend Gary Hayward has very kindly sent me down the latest Yurii saga. Now the saga is a beautiful blade. It's got a slightly unconventional handle. Nice monkey tail on it. I would say, particularly as it's in walrus ivory, any sea ivory is obviously very welcome. It's a very interesting razor, interesting in several ways. One is, if I can pick the beast up wherever I put it, one is the handle seems to fit the hand particularly nicely. It's a pretty good, thick, stout tang on it. As you can see, it's a very slight smile. Very, 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 very slight. Very similar to what I'm going to test it against, which is my Yurii console. As you can see, there is great similarities. The console I've tested several times. The last honing I've done on the console as a refresh was with a JNet. Now I've canvas stropped about 40, no, in total 25 to 30 canvas passes with the console and then onto leather. Gary told me just go straight onto leather with this new saga because he's already given it a little touch up. So I must obey Gary, and he's always right. So this has only been, by me, has only been lightly stropped on leather. It doesn't pass the hanging hair test quite as well. So I'd normally have put it on the canvas, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try straight away as it is and see what happens. So this is really exciting. First time this razor's ever been used. It's a brand new Yurii saga. So let's see. Yep, that's going well. Now, this is the first pass, and this is on a very thick 3-day stubble. This is really quite a test for any razor. And it's absolutely faultless. I don't know what Gary does to his edges. Some evil Nottingham magic, no doubt, but it is extremely keen. And yet, oddly enough, the hanging hair test wasn't brilliant. And for me, it's a major, major test. Anyway, let's see what it looks like. Nice load of gudge just come off. I shall now try the other side of my face with mine, which is the console, which is probably the most elegant and most attractive razor you can find anywhere. Yurii is a master when it comes to design. This is slightly easier to hold, but it's slightly fatter. So we're talking about slightly fatter scales. These are the ones that change colour as you heat them up. So very sexy scales. Let's see how this goes. Well, I'll be damned. Now, this is my console, which I honed on a JNet, and it feels just slightly more draggy. Yeah, it is. It's very slightly more draggy. And yet, it passed a hanging hair test slightly better than the saga, which is confusing me now. However, let me just put a little bit of hot water on my brush. Let's see what it does. One side of the moustache. Adequate. And now let's try with the saga. Now the saga's also got more of a French point to it, which is very attractive. Let's give this a go. left-handed. On a first pass, they're equal. Let's try a little bit more. Now that's what I call heavy stubble. Blimey. Yeah, 3 days is a bit too much, I think. However, no hesitation with either razor, because they're hollows, but they're not extra hollow. These are just standard hollows. Now, an extra hollow would flex a bit more, and I like a bit more flex. Yeah. I would give the edge to the Saga. So, Gary, you're right. I think in the case of the edge that's on the Saga, only needs a touch of leather. Now here's the real test. Look what I've got. This is my favourite, my current favourite Philharmonica. Now this filly is, it passes every test known to man. It is absolute perfection. One of the strange reasons is it's an unusual grind. It's a slightly thicker blade than most fillies because it's a tridor. And if you can just see, it's actually got a full address going down the spine with pattern rather, and you can tell by the jimping it's absolutely mint. But this one I always use as a good test because it hasn't got a flat bevel, it's got a concave bevel, and concave bevels on certain razors work extremely well. So I'm going to give this a little comparison to the other twos. So here we go. This is now with a Philharmonica Tridor 8/8 against the two Yuris, which are both 8/8s. Being obviously a Philharmonica, it's a longer blade, but we'll see. This is just going over the slightly unfinished same area. Yeah, it's better. Oh God, yeah, it's much better. Sorry, Yurii. It's almost impossible to beat a good Philharmonica. The only thing I would say is it's about twice the price of one of Yuri's. Extremely hard to get hold of, and to get one in this condition, which is well, new, virtually new, is even harder. I'm fairly convinced that you can put any grind you want on a filly and it'll come out top dog. However, in saying that, remember this has got the concave edge, and all I've done is very, very lightly stropped it. 14 laps, that's all. 14 laps on leather, and that's it, just on leather from when I last used it. So I used it, I gave it a couple of few laps on leather, put it safely away nice and dry, and now here it is again, and all I did was give 12 passes and tiny little passes on this wonderful loom strop, which of course is a Maestro Levi, and that's all it needed. Doesn't need any form of canvas once you've got an edge as good as this. But this is a top Philharmonica, and it is with a concave bevel. Anyway, I won't bore you for much longer. All I would say, I would probably give a little bit of a touch up on the Saga. I think a tiny, tiny bit of either green CRX or maybe just a little tiny bit of a touch on the canvas. because it's identical to the console, and the console is a very good razor. It's quite a stiff razor, whereas a Philly is a more flexible razor. So for my money, let's hold them up for you. Here we go. We have the Saga, which I would certainly give an 8 out of 10. The console, which I would certainly give an 8 out of 10. The Philharmonica, I'd give it an 11 out of 10. However, I'm not biased, it's just the way it shaves. Anyway, chaps, I hope you might have found this at least amusing. It's subjective, it's not objective, so I'm not a scientist. However, I do like a good shave. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.